Hi there, Nick Margaritondo. This is poetry assignment on O'Hara, Creeley, and Ginsberg. It's actually my favorite assignment so far. I like the idea of a video instead of a writing assignment, just feels a little more casual. Question number one: how does anaphora and diction work together to create tension in America? I think personally that the anaphora and the diction are probably like the most important parts of the poem, just because the repetition of America and the way he's speaking kind of create the feeling of like maybe like speaking to a friend, kind of. I mean, there is tension in the. I just think, I guess, anytime you repeat the same word over and over, and you're gonna build tension just because of that repetition is gonna bring people to expect something. And I think that it's almost like sort of a confrontational poem, but not in like an overly political way, which is really cool because of the way that he speaks to America. And I'm going to call that one answered. Sick. Question two. How does the subject matter in these poems compare to the subject matter of poems and poets you previously read? This one is kind of hard for me because I feel like the subject matter itself, in terms of like what the poet is literally speaking about in their poems, is kind of different across the board. But one definite difference I noticed in the poets of this week, as opposed to all the other poets we've read, is that I guess just the way they write about what they write about, it doesn't seem necessarily completely different from the subject matter of other poets. It just seems that they're writing about it in less of a, I don't want to say constricted, but they're, especially with O'Hara and Ginsberg, I think they're the language they use just kind of like circles around and around and in on itself, and doesn't necessarily have like a direct point all the time, or maybe it does, but what I mean is that it's not always speaking about its subject directly. It's sort of, circles and ebbs and flows and kind of develops and evolves over time. But in general subject matter, I guess that, a lot of these poems are just about kind of small occurrences, you know what I mean? Like Ginsberg writes about seeing a sunflower on the river, and he still turns that into like a large statement, sort of like a large statement that you would find in the other poems we've read. And in the same way, O'Hara writes about just speaking to a friend who's a painter, and it's a really great poem. By the way, it's still making kind of a larger statement about art and communicating something that I think a more an older poem, or like one of just in general one of the other poems that we read in the semester would make the same way. It's just that the way it communicates that is through different subjects. Okay, cool. Question three. One poem by each poet that affects you the most. This is gonna be kind of hard because I don't have the poems in front of me, so I can't. Actually, yeah, I do have the poems in front of me. So I guess I'll just go one by one. So Ginsberg, my favorite poem. I loved America, especially the reading of it that we listened to, because it seems a little different from the poem itself, and you have kind of the added benefit of the audience laughing along, which makes it feel a little less like serious or like schoolish. I've never laughed out loud really reading a poem like in a textbook. It's kind of hard to get that sort of feeling from it. So in that way, it affected me being able to hear it live. For O'Hara, I really enjoyed. Oh boy, I've already forgotten the title of it. Why I'm Not a Painter. I just thought it was a great statement about what it is to be a poet, or what it is to be an artist in general. I love kind of the description of writing about something, but ending up writing literally nothing about what you wanted to write about in the first place is kind of like a really that speaks to me. And also the comparison of a painter and a poet, and sort of the idea that like we're all sort of doing the same thing. You know what I mean? Especially if you're an artist of one field who works with a lot of artists of other fields, you kind of get that same feeling that like it's the method is different, but the experience really remains similar. So that really affected me. My favorite poem of Creeley is a short one. I just really like the way it's read, so I could to communicate why I like it, I would probably just read it. For friendship is the title. For friendship, make a chain that holds, to be bound to others two by two, a walk, a garland, handed by hands that cannot move unless they hold. Something about just the way that poem reads really, it kind of just pulls me in, I guess. I don't even really know how to describe it necessarily, because I don't think it has a specific meter. It just reads very well, or maybe it has several different meters in different lines. But I just really enjoy reading it. That's kind of the only reason it really spoke to me, but it stuck out to me just because the act of reading it out loud was so much fun to me. Okay, final question. So, how was Ginsberg influenced by Walt Whitman and William Carlos Williams? So the main place that I think I see an influence there is, I think, the way Walt Whitman speaks about himself, specifically in Song of Myself, compared to Howl by Ginsberg. I think you can definitely see like a direct connection there in terms of the way they speak about the state of themselves specifically compared to the state of a broader or wider world or like scene or however you want to describe it. That was honestly the main takeaway that I had. That was really the main connection that I made while reading the poetry of those two poets. But overall, I really, really loved this week's selections. Probably my favorite so far. Some of it I had read before. I had read the Ginsberg poems before, but I'd never read. I loved O'Hara, just his sense of speaking, just the way his poetry speaks is very unique. So yeah, that's my assignment. Really enjoyed this week.